Hi and welcome to another one of my radio control ramblings. Today I thought I'd cover a project that's sort of been in the pipeline for quite some time. This project is, for all intents and purposes, my vision of what a ultimate performance crawler might look like. I finally got together most of the parts required for this. Now, of course, the electronics and all will come. They're actually already sitting in my cupboard, and it will be the usual electronics, the Mamba X. It'll be some Holmes Hobby motor probably, but in terms of the actual chassis, that's where the thought process really has been focused. That will comprise the ultimate build. I've decided this time round to use portals, even though it's a low CG design build, simply because these were the axles that I've had sitting around. These axles are Vanquish portals. To compensate these axles and the increased ride height, which again, in some way deteriorates crawling performance because of the higher CG, we've focused a lot on lowering the rest of the chassis CG. And from that perspective, the specific chassis that I've chosen to base the build around is a Game Changer 4.2 from Crawl Space. Designed using very lightweight materials. This is not a scale build, so it's not a chassis that looks realistic. It's built entirely for performance purpose. You can see as a result, the sliders have got very specific curvature that all aims at bringing this chassis over rocks as easily as possible. In addition to that, there is a downward slant to the midsection of this chassis. And the purpose of this is so that when you place a battery in the central position here, you're always having the weight pushing down on the chassis. Even as you're climbing, it's still angling down more than it is just going straight up. Accordingly, you also see that as part of this low CG design, the motor sits down here on this G5 plate right next to a transmission that's very lightweight, built out of 3D printed material, using axial internals here. You've got a slipper clutch, you've got a very lightweight servo mount, and at the rear as well, the chassis is braced using lightweight material. This is not the absolute stiffest chassis in the market. To date, I still feel that something from Vanquish is far more stiff, but this is very lightweight and very focused on performance. Again, whether you really need a chassis to be ultra stiff, I think a lot of it is in people's mindsets. They want the stiff chassis because they think they want to let the suspension do the work. But the reality is you've got tires that are incredibly soft. You're tuning for tires, you're tuning for a lot of slop in the axles, a lot of slop in the linkages. It's not like on-road racing where you really needed a very stiff chassis so that you were always maintaining the optimal setup on your tires for the negative camber, for the toe-in, toe-out. All that played a big part on road. And therefore, a chassis such as the one coming from Crawl Space is an ideal candidate. And there are other brands, such as Team Garage Hack, that are also exceptionally good. And these are all worth looking at. For me, I just went with these guys because they were a kit that came with a transmission setup already. You've also got the links. Now, these links that I've got here, they're high clearance links, and that's all part and parcel with the idea that I'm going to be doing a chassis that's very low to the ground, offset by this portal. These are from Samix, but I've also got a set on order from Hardcore Racing, made in titanium. So those will most likely finally end up on this chassis once it's built. I've also had a set of these axles laying around from MIP. These were bought from our dear friends at Super Shafty some time back. Now I'm very hopeful that these will fit this build once I've got the axles configured, because these were actually meant for one of my XCX 10.2s. And the final thing that I've got at the moment are the Chronic shocks. So these shocks are really leak proof. They're fantastic shocks for crawling, simply because you build them once and you don't have to bother about them anymore. I have a set of these on one of my other trucks and they're very good. So I decided to go with these again this time round. So that's basically all I've got for the moment. Thought I would just give you guys a quick rundown on this project. It will slowly come to shape sooner or later, because this is one of these things which I've been dragging my feet on for some time. And I look forward to sharing this build as it does get to completion, and then finally for me to actually test it out on the rocks. Do take care in the meantime.